Coming up next on Making Moves, the JTA unveils its transportation vision for the future. We'll show you what it has in store for the First Coast. The ferry upgrades continue as JTA gets more federal dollars, and after performing more than 700 evacuations last hurricane season, the JTA is getting prepared should more storms come our way this year. JTA's Chief Safety Officer joins me in studio. I'm Donna Deegan. These stories and more right now on Making Moves. Hello and welcome to Making Moves. I'm Donna Deegan. We're happy to have you with us today. Coming up on today's show, we'll learn how JTA is preparing for the upcoming hurricane season and what you need to know before you evacuate when JTA Security Officer Ivan Mote joins us in studio. And Karen Adams reports on one JTA family with more than a century of service to the authority. But we begin with the 4th annual JTA State of the Authority. Every year in May, CEO Nat Ford showcases the previous year's accomplishments of the JTA to a packed house of invited guests. And while the JTA's list of successes were again impressive, its plans for the future of transportation here, including the expansion of the First Coast Flyer, new mobility hubs throughout the city, and the development of the UTC, is what really wowed the audience.
Transportation is entering a new paradigm. Technology drives transportation solutions. Shared mobility innovations disrupt traditional markets and give customers new choices. Regional growth presents new challenges in connecting people with jobs. And downtown redevelopment inspires an exciting new vision for the future of Jacksonville. These trends are changing the way JTA plans, develops, and delivers transportation solutions. As others continue to discover what we already know about Jacksonville and Northeast Florida, our rapid growth will only increase. Jacksonville was the 5th fastest growing city in the U.S. last year, and some projections show the population growing to 2 million by 2040. With this kind of growth, ensuring mobility is essential to a strong economy and high quality of life. Adding new lanes or new roads won't be enough. The key is integrating traditional solutions with new technologies and partnerships for a robust regional transportation system. JTA's introduction of new mobile apps for fare payment, security alerts, plus real-time passenger information and dynamic traffic signals that communicate with approaching buses is just the beginning. Smart technologies, combined with the integration of data produced from roadside transportation infrastructure, will improve travel. Vehicle-to-vehicle technology and vehicle-to-infrastructure communications, connected with the traffic management center, will optimize movement of people on existing roads. Automated detection and monitoring on complete streets will offer safe accessibility for pedestrians, bicyclists, automobiles, and autonomous transit vehicles to connect to the regional transportation system. The modernization and expansion of the Skyway through the Ultimate Urban Circulator, or U2C, is one example of the JTA's use of new technology. A frequent and flexible solution will support the economic vision of downtown Jacksonville. But this is more than a project to modernize the Skyway. The U2C is changing the way we approach public transportation. The new U2C will move people around downtown and surrounding neighborhoods, connecting riders to other services and supporting redevelopment opportunities. The First Coast Flyer, JTA's bus rapid transit system and high-frequency and cross-down corridors, will be the backbone of public transportation. Traditional transit services will be focused in higher-density mixed-use areas. New innovative solutions for feeder services, first and last mile connections, and neighborhood circulators will be implemented. Technology and partnerships will be crucial, making your trip easier, more convenient, and affordable. Mobility hubs will connect transit with new mobility solutions, such as bike share, car share, and ride share, like Uber and Lyft, as well as microtransit and autonomous transit shuttles. Some mobility hubs, like the Avenues Walk, Park, and Ride, will serve future commuter rail. The Avenues Walk multimodal facility is designed with accessibility in mind, connecting multiple transportation services, including the Flyer, autonomous shuttle circulators, and new mobility options. The centerpiece of this smartly integrated mobility network will be a single app that allows customers to plan, schedule, and pay for and track their mobility choice. A true one-stop shop, and all from their smartphone or other mobile device. Integrating transportation options improves mobility and accessibility for everyone. This new integrated mobility network demands connecting with our regional partners. Regional express routes linking to the Flyer and other services will connect people to major employment and activity centers, while also supporting medical, educational, and recreational mobility needs throughout the region. The new Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center will connect transportation services within the region and beyond. New technologies create exciting opportunities to improve mobility. JTA is evolving to harness new technologies and partnerships to optimize transportation investments. By integrating mobility solutions, JTA's vision will make it easier for you to travel from your home to work, shopping, and recreation throughout the region and across the country. A new paradigm for delivering public transportation. An innovative, integrated, fully connected transit network provided by JTA to meet your mobility needs.
As part of the State of the Authority event, the JTA also held a Mobility Momentum Summit to discuss the changing landscape of transit. As Making Moves chief correspondent Bill Milnes tells us, according to the summit experts, the future will be one of mobility integration.
The JTA's Mobility Summit featured 3 transportation experts, each with a unique perspective on the future of transportation, but who all agree that the future will be vastly different than what most of us now find familiar. Case in point, says Ted Hammer, the fascination previous generations have with car ownership is not transferring to millennials.
Part of it is because they've grown up in a world where they literally can pull the phone out, hit a button, and get to where they want to go. So the attachment to, having a sweet, Mustang, for a lot of them, it doesn't matter. I think my kids, I have an 8 and a 7-year-old, 2 boys. I don't know that they'll actually have to get a driver's license. And that's not just because I live in the city of Chicago, it's because they may not actually need one.
Most millennials, they say, will use whatever transportation best suits the need for any particular trip. It could be a bike, bus, train, or an Uber, or depending on the trip, all of the above. In fact, driver's license data shows a double-digit decline in driver's license ownership among those 24 years and under. So while millennials shun automobiles, that has opened the door for a real change in mobility options, particularly in first and last mile transit. And driverless vehicles, both public and private, are expected to play a big part of the future. And by future, I mean as early as next year. That's when Level 4 autonomous vehicles, that means no steering wheel or brakes for users inside the vehicle, is expected to be in use in several major U.S. cities.
I think that there is going to be a strong role for mass transit in congested corridors. There will be a role for on-demand transit software and using different technologies to place where and how transit is provided. And ultimately, that can be done with a driverless vehicle.
Adam Cohen, a transportation futurist from Cal Berkeley, says automation can have a tremendous impact on the industry.
From kind of the public transit perspective, automation, has the ability to reimagine public transportation. On the one hand, we may be able to reduce overhead costs, reduce per mile costs, make public transit operate more effectively and efficiently in places that we can't do it today. And so there's a lot of opportunities there.
Meanwhile, the new president and CEO of the American Public Transportation Association touted the vision of the JTA as the measuring stick for the nation's other transit systems.
And I believe that those authorities, those agencies that are thinking forward, as JTA is, and thinking about how to collaborate, what to test in terms of new products and services, will be the ones that will win out.
It's clear that there is a new paradigm shift underway in public transportation. Change is coming, and it's coming rapidly. Fortunately for Jacksonville, the JTA is right on the forefront of the innovation. In downtown, Bill Milnes, JTA, Making Moves.
In other news, the Federal Transit Administration awarded the JTA a $3.3 million passenger ferry grant. The money will be used to make continued improvements to the St. John's Ferry. Currently, Phase 3 of JTA's ferry improvement plan is under construction with a January 2019 completion date. The scope includes removal and replacement of the existing terminal bridges, the design and construction of rehabilitated bulkheads, and the installation of stopping mechanisms. In order to replace the terminal bridges and perform required maintenance, the ferry will be removed from service for approximately 2 months, beginning in early September. Next on Making Moves, a century-long legacy of commitment to Jacksonville transportation. And JTA's Chief Safety Officer, Ivan Mote, joins me in studio to talk about the hundreds of evacuations performed during Hurricane Irma and how the JTA team is ready if needed again this year.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Hey, man, it could have gone either way.
Open your eyes, man. That wasn't even close.
Chill, there's a lot of game left.
Hey, watch
your friend just fell to the ground.
Hey, buddy, you okay? Hey, you, call 911. Here, give me a hand.
That play was a game changer. Let's see the instant replay. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, remember the 2 simple steps of hands-only CPR. First, call 911. Next, place your hands in the center of the chest and push hard and fast until help arrives.
And remember to push to the beat of Staying Alive. Can I get a little help?
Awesome effort, folks. The paramedics have arrived. Now you know the 2 steps to save a life. You're ready to make the save.
For most of us, eating healthy is just a matter of choice. We go to the nearest supermarket and pick out all the fresh produce we want. But how healthy would you be if all you had nearby was fast food restaurants and convenience stores filled with junk food and frozen pizzas? Every Friday, JTA's Rosa Parks Produce Market is helping you eat healthier with lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, all at reasonable prices. Rosa Parks helped change our world. Now the Rosa Parks Produce Market can help change your life.
Welcome back to Making Moves. JTA has always prided itself on being one big family. It's not uncommon to see sons or daughters follow in the footsteps of family members and go on to work for the authority. But few families can match the century-long legacy at JTA like that of David Smith. Making Moves correspondent Karen Adams has his story.
When it comes to working for the JTA, it's truly a family affair for David Smith. He's the third generation in his family to do so. Both his father and grandfather drove buses for more than 30 years each. David himself has more than 40 years experience here, and while he doesn't drive the buses, as a mechanic, he's responsible for fixing them.
Well, I always liked working with my hands, and I actually went to high school, to trade school for auto mechanics. And like I said, it's just kind of a natural progression that, I ended up getting up on here and working on the buses and all. I really enjoy it. It's more of a hobby to me than what I would consider work.
A lot has changed over the years when it comes to these buses. David remembers the times there was no air conditioning or power steering.
Well, back when I was first hired, the buses didn't have no AC, they didn't have no power steering, they didn't even have right-hand mirrors on the outside of the buses as far as driving, and of course you didn't have the traffic that you do now.
David knows firsthand how well JTA is keeping up with the changes, both with the new technology on the buses and the need to hire qualified employees to service them.
When I first started here, there was a manager of the property, a manager over the drivers, and a manager of maintenance, and a couple of secretaries, and that's it. And there was maybe 20 mechanics, 30 mechanics at tops, and now we're over close to 130 mechanics alone, and not counting the administration and all, which is really great.
With Jacksonville being such a huge area to cover compared to other cities, it's not unusual for these buses to rack up thousands upon thousands of miles each year.
Well, they may average close to 100,000 miles a year running around here. It's quite a bit of mileage. So that's why we have to have our inspection, so we keep them in top shape, keep them as new as possible as we can.
David is proud to be a third-generation employee at JTA. It's a legacy he loves to share with others. He says if he had it all to do over again, he wouldn't change a thing.
My wife and I, we've been married 32 years, and she's put up with me in all the different hours and stuff, but it's been fantastic. It's been a fantastic career. I would suggest to anybody, the technician or either on a management side, it's been, because I've been on both sides of the fence, and it is really a fantastic career to pursue.
In La Villa, Karen Adams for JTA Making Moves.
Last year's hurricane season reminded all of us these storms need to be taken seriously. Floodwaters from Hurricane Irma punished downtown and its surrounding neighborhoods the likes that hadn't been seen in decades. For its part, the JTA performed 700 evacuations and transported more than 2,700 utility workers to critical work zones to help get electricity back on and help our area recover more quickly. And here to tell us more about how they did that and what the authority learned from the 2017 storm season is Chief Safety Officer Ivan Mote. Welcome to Making Moves.
Thank you. Good morning.
We're happy to have you here. And let me start with those numbers I just talked about, because those are some pretty astounding numbers.
Yeah.
700 evacuations, 2,700 transports. Amazing. I wonder if the public realizes how important of a role that JTA plays when we have emergencies like that.
I really don't think so. We are a public transportation agency that switches hats and become public safety all in a matter of a day. The 700 transports were to evacuation shelters. The 2,700 utility workers were back and forth from their hotel to their equipment so that they can restore power to the city.
Well, as you look back over that crazy season, and
yes.
Obviously, we had a couple of pretty close brushes. Fortunate that we didn't have an actual direct
right.
hit. But as the JTA safety officer, and you look back over all that, how do you think overall it went?
I think overall we did very well. JTA was able to switch hats. They've done it before, long before I arrived. But at the time, we managed to evacuate everyone who needed to be evacuated, and we were able to meet the needs of the other agencies, our sister agencies, who are members of the Emergency Operations Center. So we worked to coordinate with a unified command to take care of the needs of the city during the restoration of just regular everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure that there is no drill that actually really prepares you for the real thing. But what were your lessons learned as you actually had this real-time situation? Will you do anything differently this year based on what happened last year?
I think we had a few hiccups with numbers to call for information, and also just educating the public that when we evacuate the beaches in Zone A, it doesn't mean that we're neglecting Zone A east of the intercoastal on this side of the downtown area of the river. It's just that the storm surge in the beaches area and the high density of population, we need to get them across the bridge prior to the storm, because at 40 miles an hour, the bridge is shut down.
Sure.
And we're unable to get resources to that area.
So what you're saying is, even though sometimes that zone on the other side is where you may end up with more flooding, you got to get those people off the island first.
Exactly. So if we begin the evacuation east of the bridges, it doesn't mean that we're neglecting zone A in the downtown area. It just means that the resources, once the bridge is shut down, we'll have the resources on this side of the bridge to tend to the people on this side in those zone A's that we need to evacuate out of flooded areas.
So bottom line, just pay attention and do what you're told.
Yes.
But tell us the procedures to evacuate on JTA. What do people need to know before the storm hits about actually using JTA services to evacuate?
Well, you need to pay attention to 630 City online. The Emergency Operations Center is constantly updating local news, media, social media, and they'll let us know which shelters are open, which shelters are pet friendly, which shelters take disabled, because our paratransit service also switches hats during that time. And our regular bus routes turn into evacuation routes.
Sure.
So we advertise that information through JTA and through 630 City to let them know where these routes are traveling, which routes have converted to evacuation routes.
And of course, JTA is on Facebook and on Twitter and puts those things out on social media as well. Obviously, you got a lot of assets to protect as well during a hurricane. Like you said, you're wearing many hats there, but how do you protect those assets during a storm?
During the storm, we move. If you can remember the images of Hurricane Katrina where the buses were underwater, we don't want that to happen.
No, that's bad
So
PR.
Exactly. So we move those assets to higher ground into areas that are above the flooding zone, and we stage them there so that during the recovery phase, we can get those resources back into the city, restore normal bus routes, and also utilize some of our buses to evacuate some of the areas that are underwater.
Okay, very good. So recently we launched the JTA See and Say app that we profiled on a recent show. So can you talk a little bit about incorporating that technology into your emergency management plans?
Yes, the app is available to the general public through Google Play and also the Apple Store to download. And what we're going to do this year is we use it internally to communicate with our employees, but we also want to use it to communicate with the general public. Everyone who potentially downloads the app, we want to push them real live information at the moment we receive it in the Emergency Operations Center.
Boy, so many advances on that front. So really, folks, no excuse not to be informed on this. Stay connected through the app, through social media, through all these ways in which JTA offers you this safety information. I'm sure it's comforting for the community to know that if they do need to evacuate, JTA is here to help. So
yes, absolutely.
Ivan Mote, always great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Great
for being with us
you.
this morning.
Thank
Hopefully
you
you'll
for
come back.
having me.
I hope we don't have to see you too much during this hurricane season, but I mean that in a very nice way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, up next, JTA says thank you to its customers. More on that when we come back.
Everyone should know how to do hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, all you need are
2 simple steps. Call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives.
Just push to the beat of the classic song, Staying Alive.
It really works.
You didn't let me finish. I really do know this stuff.
If it wasn't for disco, I'd be dead.
Staying alive. Staying alive.
Happy employees mean a happy workplace. My employees take advantage of transit tax benefits. Employees use pre-tax dollars to pay for their commute, reducing taxable income. And the more pre-tax reductions that are made, the more employers decrease their payroll taxes. There's no enrollment period for transit tax benefits, and your business or employees can join or leave anytime. Plus, one of JTA's transit benefit partners does all the work. Your transit commuter tax benefit is waiting.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking, now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Yvonne Lozano is a professionally trained artist who loved to reminisce about the joyous days of her youth through her art. Almost every painting illustrates a particular story or memory of her childhood.
And this is my dog at the Skyway.
But Yvonne also knows that experiencing the world of fine art can often leave many unexposed. That's because it's usually displayed in museums and galleries where many people never have a chance to visit. That's why Yvonne is committed to exposing people from all walks of life to the wonderful world of art, and she does it through what she calls Art Drop. That's where Yvonne leaves behind one of her paintings at a random location for an unsuspecting stranger to find.
A family member of mine was in the hospital, and I spent a lot of time in a waiting room and realized, I'm like, you know, this is a perfect opportunity to just brighten someone's day. So I started doing quick sketches of dogs and leaving them around the hospital.
And now some of the random locations where she frequently makes a drop is along JTA transit stops. Yvonne says her inspiration comes from her early childhood experiences of riding the bus with her mom.
There was always a visual of her sitting at a bus stop with us, you know, holding me and my sister sitting next to hers. I just kind of realized, I'm like, you know, there's probably a lot of other single mothers who are riding buses or public transportation. So I actually decided to hit up JTA bus stops and just leave little pieces of art around, you know, just to basically brighten, you know, someone's day.
And that's what fuels Yvonne's commitment of bringing art to the people. She knows the impact a simple drawing or painting can have on someone who finds her work. On a sunny day, she makes a drop at a Regency bus stop, much to the delight of the person who finds it.
That's right. It really helped me in my day because, you know, I wasn't really up on my toes today, but this really put something in my heart right here.
Art is very powerful. It's a powerful tool that can be used to uplift you, your quality of life. It can change your day. It can change the whole direction of where your day was going. There's Skyway's right outside my studio, so I ride it a lot during the week to come here and avoid traffic and all that good stuff. And so there's times where I'm just riding it and I'm just like, this is a good spot to leave something, and I'll just leave it there and walk away.
So thanks, Yvonne Lozano, for sharing your talent and your love of the arts with commuters on our routes. For JTA Making Moves, I'm Eugene Lindsay.
Each year, customers take nearly 13 million trips on JTA buses, trains, and ferry. That kind of loyalty doesn't go unnoticed by the JTA. That's why each year in May, staff members venture out to the various transit hubs, bus stops, and the ferry landing to say, we appreciate that you ride with us. Along with a heartfelt thank you, customers were given snacks and a beverage to take them on their journey. And that wraps up this episode of Making Moves. We thank you so much for taking some time to join us. Remember, you can check out past episodes anytime on jtafla.com. And you can also find stories and other exclusive content when you like our Facebook page at facebook.com/JTA Making Moves. I'm Donna Deegan. We hope to see you next time for another edition of Making Moves. Take care, everyone.